If you look at every halving, it generally takes 4 to 6 months after the halving in order for price to start feeling an impact. And if you're sitting there going, where's the price going? Why isn't the price moving? Oh my God, the halving's broken. You're being a moron. You're being a moron. That's never how it's worked. It's never how it's really gonna work. Everything is ultimately dependent on the supply and the demand. And what's happened in the last couple of weeks is that the supply has shot up. The pool of supply has expanded from this amount to this amount, and now we've got a slow drip of daily supply coming in. It's been halved again. So, but this supply needs to be chewed up. And I predict that that supply is going to be chewed up a lot faster than what people think. And I think it's going to be a lot quicker than what a lot of people are estimating with the 4 to 6 months. I think that because you've got ETFs buying now, remember, this is the first halving that we're going to have where there's less Bitcoin on exchanges as we go into the halving. That is a huge change in the market that you need to pay attention to. So the whole point of the way Bitcoin's halving is set up is to allow for monetary policy to execute without a single decision, without a single thought, without a single interference by any human being. It is absolute programmed money for the first time in human history. One of the things I'm noticing is that people who are not subscribed to this channel, so please subscribe to the channel, are constantly messaging me going, oh my God, what's happening to the price? How come there's no halving price action? I thought the halving means that there's less Bitcoin, so how come there's no price action going on right now in Bitcoin? What the hell's going on here? And I have to remind them that it doesn't work like that. The point of the halving when it comes to the issuance schedule is to reduce the daily flow coming from miners down by 50%. And that daily flow that comes down by miners by 50% means that from that block forward, well, from that period forward, we now work to a 3.125 Bitcoin per block reward from a 6.25 block reward. So this is a classic issue when it comes to new people coming into Bitcoin. I had this as well when I first came. It's like every little thing that happens to Bitcoin must impact price. But here's the reality of how markets work. There is going to be a certain pool of supply. Then there's going to be the new daily supply that comes out. And then there's going to be the demand that's chewing up that pool of supply and daily supply. And so it's going to take a little bit of time in order to chew up all of the daily supply that has been forced out of the market, or forced into the market rather, from a supply perspective, based on the price dip that we've had going into the halving. There is going to be a dumpage of coins sitting there. The pool went from here to here, and now the daily supply is slowly is going to go down. And so we are in a situation where we need to chew up this extra supply. This is normal for every halving. This is how it works. There's never an immediate effect when it comes to the halving in terms of price. It doesn't work like that. You now have all of this supply that needs to get chewed up, and eventually it will. And then once that gets chewed up, it's going to be topped up at a slower rate, which is what makes that price take off. So if you're sitting there going, oh my God, Bitcoin price isn't moving anywhere, the halving broke, you're a moron. Right? You need to understand exactly what's going on here. It doesn't work like that. It never works like that. It never has worked like that. Nothing happens on the day of the halving besides programmed money being cut, the issuance supply being cut in half, which is exactly what we want. Unlike the Federal Reserve, you got to have 12, 14 morons get together and decide for everyone else how it works. This is programmed. There's a consensus. There is a network effect on everyone accepting that consensus, and that's just how it programmatically works for the entirety of human history until the 21 million Bitcoin have been mined. So if you're sitting there going, hey, price isn't moving, doesn't move. It doesn't move on the day of the halving. That's not what happens, right? It's going to take a little bit of time, but from my perspective, the ETFs buying, the fact that we've gotten less coins on exchanges, we just hit a new low on exchanges. I think Coinbase hit the total coins on exchanges hit 1.7 million. this last week. That's a new low, right? So we got a new low on coins on exchanges. You got the ETFs coming in. You got the Hong Kong ETFs, which, by the way, the Hong Kong ETFs don't have a futures market, so you can't short against it, which means that $100 million long day on the Hong Kong ETFs is actually a $100 million long day when you might need like $500 million in the US markets because you got, $400 million worth of shorts going on. So there's that thing that's quite interesting. You got the London markets opening up. You got demand flowing in. You've got the market that's correcting right now. People are shitting themselves about the stock market correcting. The Bitcoin is a pivot. You got BlackRock coming out advertising all over the place. You got BlackRock coming out and saying Bitcoin is the most widely adopted digital asset ever. They're going to start promoting it. Their promotion hasn't even started. You got the RIAs, registered investment advisors, starting up in the next few months. You got people now being able to, corporations being able to, by the end of the year, change their rules and actually put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. There is so much demand coming here, but that supply has to be chewed up, and then boom. Right, that's what needs to happen. So that's what we're waiting for now. After a halving, what we wait for is that excess supply based on a crash, a liquidity generation crash, to get chewed up. And once that gets chewed up, it gets topped up at a slower rate because the halving has now happened, and then the price explodes. And that's what we're waiting for. But ultimately, despite all of that, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.